Let's get it started. Okay, welcome everyone. This is your host with the most. I'm sorry.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Teresa Taylor Williams, and I'm Director of Diversity Student Programs here at Emporia State University. And I am so excited and tickled and elated that we have these wonderful guests with us for the Coffee and Culture Chat in honor of Native American Heritage Month. And so I would like to introduce my former graduate assistant extraordinaire and my honorary and proud to call a friend now, Adria Pickett. And Adria, will you please give us a land rights acknowledgement?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Teresa. My name is Adria Pickett. I'm a graduate student here at ESU studying clinical psychology and art therapy. As an honorary member of Diversity Student Programs, we'd like to acknowledge that the Office of Diversity Student Programs acknowledges that Emporia State University resides on the ancestral homelands of several tribal nations, including the Osage, Wyandot, Pawnee, and Wichita peoples. We also acknowledge the lived experience of many other tribal nations in and near Emporia who have endured resettlement and forced migration through the occupied lands of Kansas. We honor the continued rich culture of Indigenous land stewardship while affirming Indigenous sovereignty. We seek to understand how we can better support our Indigenous students and community members while building mindfulness around the ongoing effects of colonialism. This statement serves as an educational opportunity and an invitation for community restorative action. If you're interested in supporting Indigenous sovereignty, please reach out to Diversity Student Programs and consider joining our ESU Advancing Indigenous Presence initiative. I'll put some contact information in the chat so that if anyone's interested in getting involved, you can find us.
Thanks, Adria, for doing that. So now we're going to just kind of go around the room and introduce who is here. And so let's start with Steve.
How mataki pi Damakota Badewa Kantua Himacha. Na Isanti Makoche Etaha. Hello, my name is Steve Larvey Jr. I'm a senior in the American Indian Studies program at Haskell Indian Nations University, and I'm originally from Nebraska. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being with us. Okay, let's go to Michael.
Lots of good places happen as well.
Hold on just a second.
Manny King.
Hey, Manny, you coming on the call? Oh, I think you muted it. Okay. Okay, so Michael, how about you next?
Oh, well, hey, niet panit ein. Nanan nats nahasehna. Nahaban. It's hello, my name is Michael Red Bear from the Fort Belknap Indian community up in Montana. It's good to see you guys. Thank you for having me. I'm in the process right now of getting back into KU and finishing out my social work and social welfare degree. And like I said, thank you for having me, and it's good to see everybody here.
Thank you for joining us. How about Micah next?
Yeah, still Kudanik, Ani up Chugik, Micah Juan, Ani up Amjad, Kamskari Hosik Chukshan, Ani up Ki Hawanakya. Good evening, everyone. My name is Micah Juan. I am currently a junior majoring in mechanical engineering at University of Kansas. I come from the Thanatham Nation from southern Arizona, and I'd like to say thank you for having me here this evening.
Thank you, Micah. And then we're going to round it up with Milton as far as students, and then we'll have Manny introduce himself. How about Milton?
I bet you watched day. Good day. It's a good day to be here. Thank you all for having me. My name is Milton Bighorn. I'm from the Fort Peck Assiniboine Sioux tribes up in Montana, right next door to Michael up there. I'm a student at KU. I'm a senior studying physical education and health. I also do cheerleading for KU, so I'll be cheerleading basketball games. I'm also co-chair of the First Nations Student Association. The First Nations Student Association is also in connection with Haskell. Without Haskell and Steve and Michael here, we wouldn't be as big as we are and be doing the things we're doing right now. So I just want to give a shout out to those two. And yeah, thank you for having me again. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Manny, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Manny King, and I'm Northern Cheyenne from Lame Deer, Montana. Sistas, Wapaneko, Dineha. Wapaneko means my Indian name, and it means white bear. But I just wanted to tune in. I'm just going to listen. You got a very good panel, so I'd rather listen to them and just enjoy what they have to share. So I'll gracefully bow out, but I'll be here.
Thank you so much, Manny. I hope you don't mind if maybe I ask you a question here or there.
Well, you got a very qualified panel. I'm very impressed with all of the panel participants. They're very knowledgeable. So,
okay.
you know,
well, maybe
I don't mind.
If they defer to you, maybe.
I think they're good. I trust them all. I've worked with them.
Cool.
Okay, thank you.
We appreciate you
being here. Thank you.
So,
and happy Veterans Day tomorrow to all our veterans.
Yes, I agree. Happy Veterans Day. Are you all in session tomorrow? I'm just curious. Are you all in school tomorrow?
No. We are. KU is.
Okay, KU is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have, like I said, this is just conversational, and we have a lot of questions, and we did have Alexa Dawson so if you look on the side in the Q&A, there is a greeting from Alexa, and I'm not sure if she's a student, but we would love, Alexa, if you would maybe just say if you are a student or a community member or what have you, just to give us a little more about you. And thank you so much for words in your native language. I do not. It says, can you see Teresa now? Nope, I do not. Or maybe you're asking somebody else. But hopefully we'll get that together, because we welcome you all who are tuned in. And I see we got about 24 people, so I'm excited. Please feel free in the chat function or Q&A. Also, closer to the end of the hour, I'm going to be putting a link for Emporia State students who are on this call. It's just a post survey. There's just 3 questions. And this is called Coffee and Culture Chat because we're gonna give a little $5 to Starbucks or the Hornet's Nest or Hornet Express to ESU students. So to get that, please watch out for the link that we will have. And so, yes, thank you, Alexa. Alexa is a community member currently residing in Chase County, originally from Citizen Potawatomi Nation in Oklahoma. Thank you for joining us. So I just wanted to say that I'm the First Nations Student Association at KU. You know, I stumbled on it on Facebook, and I was like, what? I mean, this group is huge, it's big. and I love how active you all are. And so I'm wondering, Milton, if you can maybe tell us about, because when I first approached you about doing this, admittedly, you guys were like, we are exhausted. I don't know if we can do one more thing, but, and so I'm just so grateful that you all were able to join us tonight. But can you tell us about, you know, what kind of activities you all do in your student organization? And because I mean, you guys are really active.
Yeah, so obviously with COVID happening this past year, it's been a pretty big impact on us. So we couldn't really do much. So now we're kind of like this semester, we're catching up on everything and everything's just starting to flow at us. And we did have plans coming into the semester, but then I don't know if some of y'all heard that the panels outside the Spencer Museum on KU, there's 5 panels out there and they represented the indigenous tribes of Kansas. And one night, I think it was like around September 7th or something, it looked like 2 KU students in the middle of the night went over there and vandalized those signs, and they pushed them over, tore them down, and just marked on them and just kind of basically destroyed them. So that's kind of the start of what we've been going through. And what was it, like 2 weeks after that, another incident happened to the last panel that stood up that they didn't touch, and someone stole it. They physically took it out of the ground and took it home.
Wow.
And so FENSA and Haskell, obviously we're all upset about that, and it kind of took a big toll on us, like mentally, physically, spiritually. It took a toll on us big time. And in the end, about a month after, they did find out who the vandalists were, but we did not receive word on what's going to happen to them or what kind of justice will be served there. We're still waiting on that. But after that happened, we had Indigenous Day coming up at the end of, end of October, end of September. I forget what day it was. I'm so overwhelmed with everything, so my days are kind of mixed up. But yeah, during Indigenous Day, we just turned it into Indigenous Week, and that week we put up the first ever teepee on Strong Hall at KU with the help of Haskell, with Steve and Michael. We all got together and we put that teepee up over there, and it was pretty good historical landmark for us to put that up there because it was the first time ever in 155 years KU been here. So pretty good accomplishment. And then when we put it up, we had Steve, Michael, and a couple other Haskell members there. They were singing, pounding on the drum, just having a good time representing our culture and what we do out there. So, and then ever since then, we just kind of been pushing forward through Native American Heritage Month, which is this November, every November, but in reality, it should be every day of the year. So,
Right.
yes. And now FENSA is also going to gift and acknowledge the head coaches for the women's basketball and men's basketball with, I don't know if I should release the information yet because we kind of wanted a surprise, but we're going to gift them with something that we made for them for the women's basketball game on this Sunday. We're gonna release what we're gonna gift them. So if you guys want to go to that, check out that KU women's basketball, we'll all be there, and they're gonna acknowledge Native American Heritage Month there. And for the men's basketball game, it's gonna be December 18th when they play against San Antonio, and that same concept, they're gonna do Indigenous acknowledgement there and what we gift them with. So if you guys can make those games, it'd be a pretty good opportunity for you guys to learn more about the culture and what's going on around FENSA and Haskell and just the community altogether.
I want to piggyback on that since you're talking about events, because I did have in my notes that I would love for people to kind of, take and mark their calendars and promo a couple of upcoming events. And if they ever just want to just take a peek at, your Facebook page, I know you guys are great at listing. And another event that really piqued my interest on the First Nations group page is it's an event offered by University of Kansas Native Faculty Staff Council, and it's called Community Learning and Practice, Native Ways of Thinking, Knowing, Being, featuring language as culture. And that's going to be noon on November 18th, which is it's Thursday. It's on next Thursday. And so there was that. If anybody on this call is, maybe interested in a deeper dive. And then also at Haskell, I'm really interested in this, Native American Stereotypes in Mass Media and Sports. And that's by Professor Rhonda Lavaldo, again, a Haskell professor, and that's at 3:30 this Monday. Both of these events are via Zoom, and Yes, thank you, Adria. She put the address, I believe on Facebook. So there's amazing. I know throughout, you know, the state, there's amazing Native events honoring Native Americans and Native culture, but those two are just ones that I for one am really, you know, kind of wanted to promote because they're right around the corner. And I guess that kind of leads me to, you know, stereotypes and appropriations. And, you know, I was reading the Indian Leader with Haskell student newspaper. And being a former journalist, I am always looking at student publications and things. And they had a story from an article from last year, and it was talking about a protest at the Kansas City football, a Kansas City football game. And I don't know, I just wanted to see if you guys could speak to not just specifically Kansas City, but there was another article tied with that one from the Indian Leader, and it was talking about how in the state of Kansas, there are still dozens of schools that, you know, are using mascots and names. I guess I should say, I'm going to say inappropriately. And, you know, it's like, I don't know, I just kind of want to get your take on this, if anybody would care to share about that. And especially in light of Professor Rhonda's talk coming up this Monday, where she'll be talking about that as well.
Like Junior or Michael, you guys probably hit on that pretty well, huh? Weren't you guys at the Chiefs game the other day?
Yeah,
I think I seen a video of you guys out there.
definitely could share a little bit. So the way that I understand it, our ancestors gave their lives to protect the right to live our culture, to wear the braids today. Our ancestors gave their lives. And so the whole deal with the racism and things, it's really, we have dignity too. We are human beings as well. And so mainly it is for our children, right? We do not want our children growing up to be confused. But we inherit the right to speak, to protect our identity, our culture. The same way that our ancestors rode into battle long ago, right? The same way that when the ceremonies in the spiritual way went underground to live and to last and make it through, when it was being eliminated. It's that same. We have always been the light. We have always been the light for the greater light. So the spark. So we carry that. Each generation, we carry that. So really, it's about what it really is. It's a message saying, hey, we're human beings. All right? We're human beings. We have a way how we relate and understand life. And this is beautiful to us. This is beautiful to us. So because it is beautiful and because it gives life to our people, we're going to protect that. We're going to speak for that. It is us. You know, we were sitting there and this gentleman came up just this past weekend. This gentleman came up and he spoke about the Vikings. And so I thought about it. I didn't reply to him, but I thought about it and I prayed. I said, if this man could look within inside himself and see that the source to who he is and to his spiritual identity is with the land, as he sees that it is with us, with this land, then he will come to understand that the destiny of his soul is in the land that he comes from. So today, when they are here, they are confused. And my brother and I, Red Bear and I, we were driving there and we were talking about that. So why do you think, why did these people get so offended when we send our voice Why? And the thing that what we came up with was this has been adopted as their culture. You know, the sports thing has been adopted as a ritualistic identity that has become kind of a sense of community. But we're not concerned really with the name. We're really concerned is with what they use, because tribes all over the world have had chiefs. Tribes all over the world at one time used the arrowhead. But when they wear the things that represent our people, the things that were spiritual and meaningful to our people, and they degrade them, they have no understanding of those things. That is where we step in and say, hey, you can do your thing, but leave this alone, because we know why this is important. And we have the inherent right to speak up for that. Because like I said, it's for our children. And unfortunately, not all of us as Indian people see it that way. It's like what was once told me. When you look at our ceremonial and spiritual way of life, many have left it alone. They leave it put away. They never picked it up. Few practice it. Very few practice it, and only a handful live it. And that's where we're at as Indian people. Because as my brother and I stood out there singing, there was also other Indian people inside the stadium singing, taking the gifts that the Kansas City team was giving them. So that is also another dynamic that we deal with as Indian people. If you really want to change and remove the mascots that degrade us as a people, then we have to come together as the people. All right, the tribes of Kansas have to come together as the people. The communities of Haskell and KU, the Indian communities have to come together as a people. And we need the support of the greater communities, of the cities and of the states. And so I'll share that much. I don't want to take all the time. I'll let somebody else speak.
That's awesome. And I so appreciate you giving your perspective. Does it ever, and I guess I'll open this along these same lines of this topic. Does it ever seem like it is an insurmountable task to get, especially when you see en masse people who, take athletics, for example, very seriously. And does it ever just seem like, and I know some people have changed. I know some teams have, but does it ever just, I guess I want to say, do you, this is probably a dumb question, but do you get weary? What do you do when you get weary and when it seems like, is anybody listening to us? Or how do we get these systems? How do we get people to change and see us and respect us, honor what we honor?
I think I would like to say something on that. So what you're saying is, the question was, so we're doing all these things, right, to change, to make change. And the question is, do we ever wonder if our voices are being heard?
Yes.
So honestly, me personally, I really don't think about that too much, because when you have that will and you have that vow that you make for your people, when you take that, and some people take it, some people leave it, some people take it and then, you know, just lose it on the way. But, you know, whenever you take that vow, you have some type of will, you know, that keeps pushing you. And for me personally, it's like what my brother said, Steve, is that it's for our children. It's like for the future generation, even this generation too. You know, it's a responsibility that a lot of us hold, and if no one does it, then who will? You know. So the being worried about being heard or not, I mean, the power is within everybody. So I mean, just like Junior was saying, the community, it's needed, because that's one way to initiate change is through community. Everybody's voice is being heard, and it's not forceful. It's it's a beautiful thing to see change happen through a community. When the community comes together, that's the power right there. That's what we want, is for the community to come together, because when that happens, then people can see how beautiful it is, and then they start to think. It initiates the thought process of, okay, so what do they want to change? And then you can go from there. So it depends on the will, you know, what type of will you have, what kind of will you have. Is it in what you're doing it for? You know, so I mean, that's just me personally. I can't speak for everyone, but I mean, you know, like when you have that, like a small example would be when I very first got to Haskell, because I'm a Haskell alumni, graduated in 2017. When I first got there, I didn't know what I was doing. And, you know, I was just going to go there, get an education, and then see what I was going to do next. But then one day I was coming out of my dorm room, and I heard the drum being played outside our dorm room. And it was a group of guys, my brother was included, and they were singing back there. And it's just that feeling you get where it's like, this is where I need to be. And from that day on, it was I'm needed here. I want to be here. I'm wanted and I'm needed here. So, and it was just an everyday thing after that. You know, you know, sooner or later, everyone has that drive, you know, that has that instantaneous, spontaneous drive where they're going to get something done regardless of any obstacles. And, you know, as that example, I mean, I've been singing for like 5 years now, I want to say, and I'm not going to stop, because I mean, that's just, you know, I love it, you know, and I see myself always singing, you know, and it's beautiful. And so with that type of drive, if our people can tap into that type of will, then, you know, we can initiate change wherever and whenever. So that's what I'd like to say.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I have a question from one of our diversity ambassadors, and they ask, what are some common microaggressions that you experience so that we can avoid being part of the problem? What are some common microaggressions that you experience so that we can avoid being part of the problem? And I'll add to that another one. What is something that you wish more people knew about your culture?
I guess I could say that it's not us wishing that they know this stuff. I feel like it's not our job. And when I speak about this type of stuff, this is my opinion only. I don't speak for Steve, Michael, Micah, or any other Native American person. This is just my opinion, just like any other. So I just wanted to let you guys know about that, because a lot of people think like, oh, my friend's Native American, he said this, so it must be true for all of them. So that's one stereotypical view that I wanna bypass on that. So, but with that, it's not really our job to like teach others, non-natives, about our culture, the differences, what they need to know, what they should know, what they shouldn't know. They need to go out and learn on their own. Like it obviously is not taught within the public education system. So, and that's just from the colonization that happened years ago. So we're still struggling to overcome those struggles that happened way back then. They're still affecting us today, as you could tell. So I feel like if you want to help, if you want to be with us and support us, go out and learn. Pick up a book that was written by a Native American author. Go find an elder around a Native American community. Even in Lawrence, there's elders here. Go speak with them. Storytelling is one of the best historical and one of the best information sources you could get. Storytelling could go a long ways, especially from an elder. So my advice would be just go out, learn from a reliable source, and it'll come along. The culture, the community, what you need to know, it's going to be there for you. You got to take the time, you got to put in the effort to reach out and learn what you want to learn about us.
Good advice. Anybody else want to weigh in on either the one about microaggressions, or what do you wish people knew about your culture?
Yeah, I'm going to elaborate on what Milton was saying about elders. I mean, elders in general are really the core knowledge of anyone's tribe, to be honest with you. Like, I value my grandparents' parents. Without them, I probably would have never knew how to introduce my native tongue. And just alone, like elders, and it's all really up to how our generation, uses them. Like when I go back home, I try to like learn as much as I can from anyone, like especially in our community meetings. Everyone speaks native tongue, speaks the Alton language, and I'm here. Me and my cousin were about the same age. We're still learning, and we're like, wow, it's kind of amazing to see that. And it really depends on like the youth. Youth involvement is what really not necessary to keep that tradition, the knowledge. In my language, we have a word called hintak, and that's our values of our lands. It can be singing, it can be ceremonies. It's just really a matter of educating generations, and for that generation to educate, so on and so forth. So elders is definitely something to value on a personal level for me.
Honoring our elders. So much to be learned from our elders. Anybody else wanted to weigh in on that? If not, I have another question. How can, and I think maybe you guys probably touched on this, but I'll go to this other one and I'll come back to that one. How do you feel about the diverse spaces that your university gives to Indigenous students? like the diverse spaces? How do you feel, I guess, supported?
Well, I could speak at the KU part aspect of this question. Right now, Indigenous, Native American students, we do not have a space at KU where we could just go and hang out and be ourselves. We don't have a Native American culture there. And I know back home in Montana, the University of Montana and the Montana State University, they just put in brand new structures, buildings dedicated to the tribes in Montana. And those are for the Native American students that go to college there and alumni and so forth. So I feel like as big as KU is, the land that they reside on, the least they could do is provide a building or a set space for students like myself and even Haskell students. This doesn't have to be KU Native American students. It could be students around Emporia State. If you guys have Native American students, they could come and hang out too. We just need a space like that. So right now, I feel like KU isn't like they're putting us on a back burner. They could care less about if we have a space or not. So right now, FENSA, that is one of our long-term goals, is to have our own space there, our own building. So just like what Michael was saying, he was saying in the dorm rooms, he heard the drum down the hall, and at KU, we're never going to experience anything like that. Like, I can't walk outside my dorm, I ain't going to hear a drum. I can't walk outside the union, I ain't going to hear nothing like that. So just have a space like that to where we could just sing, hang out, play our games, our hand games, and just be ourselves. It's like a home away from home. That's what we need around here. So for the KU part, there's not really much there, but FENSA is working on that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Were you gonna say something, Michael?
Oh, I was just saying that's actually really good. I appreciate what FENSA is doing right now, because I mean, my first 2 years up at KU, yeah, I felt very very out of place, if that makes sense. Majority of my classes that I was taking, I mean, they were just general classes, general credits. But the more the years went on, those 2 years went on, like the readings and the everything about the school and stuff like that, there was no Native, Indigenous, American Indian representation. And then I remember feeling very uncomfortable in one of my classes. No one did anything to me. I just felt very uncomfortable, or just very upsetting, that the history that we were reading about was at the same time as when AIM was going on. And the class was talking about white and black movements and stuff like that, and and my question, like always when we were reading about the history, was that where were we? Where are we in this history? Because we're a part of it, but there was no representation, and I just like what FENSA is doing right now, is because they're trying to provide that space for future students that are coming there. And I think that's a big deal, and I hope that goes through, and I hope they get a space. I hope everyone gets a space. I mean, that should be implemented everywhere, throughout all universities, across the board. So I really like what you're doing.
Thank you for that. I think on the outset, people might think, oh, well, that question may not really apply to Steve, but at Haskell, but I think it's still a legit question, particularly because there are so many, at least from what I've read about that, you all have so many different students from different tribes there, and then there's different dialects, and I mean, it just sounds so cool. But I'm wondering, is it like, are there folks who feel maybe like that some tribes get more attention, or is it pretty much like, we're all here, we're all here? I mean, is it pretty much people feel pretty supported from your viewpoint, Steve?
Yes, I think there's always an opening here at Haskell to express your specific Indian identity. It's like it's open anywhere, but we do have things that kind of bring us together universally, and we get to learn from each other, like things as such as like hand games, different events, or the drum. That drum that my brother is talking about, we all came from different Indian nations. We all came from different Indian nations, and we brought songs and we taught each other. That's one of the most beautiful things about Haskell, is that not only do you get a good education in whatever field that you're going in, but you get an education from your peers. You get an understanding of who they are, where they come from. Because that it's good to always support that, and to have that understanding, and to also what it does, really, it manifests respect, because it shows you, oh wow, they are beautiful in their own way, as I have my own way, but yet we can still sit here and laugh, share a meal, and be able to respect each other when we speak each other's languages, when we pray. There's different things, and I've never seen no neglect of any space from the time that I've been here. There's always been a place. There's always been a place if you want to, whatever it is you want to do, and it's awesome. It's beautiful. I remember the Creeks did a little stomp dance one time. I remember when the crown dancers came at the Indian art market my first year here. I remember a group of old men sitting there jamming on the peyote drum right outside the fire, and the songs. I remember people just getting together and dancing. You know what I mean? And so there's always been that space from what I've seen, and again, it's only from my perspective. But yeah.
Can I ask you, Steve and Michael Red Bear, because you said that you had gone to Haskell, right, Michael?
Yes.
Okay. So
Micah too.
Oh, Micah.
Oh yeah, Micah. Yeah, Micah.
Yeah.
Micah's been.
Yeah.
What was it? I mean, because it's my understanding that there's about 36 Native colleges, universities in America. And I didn't know that. I think that's amazing. What made you all choose Haskell? Was it how did you hear about it, I guess? Did you have family that attended? Or?
Yeah, I had a few uncles, and actually I have a lot of family members that went through Haskell, and yeah, so I mean, a lot of my family members went through there, so I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot, and best decision I've ever made.
Micah, how about you?
Yeah, I have a relative came to Haskell. His wife was a student, but he'll explain to me that there was a TC here, Tribal College University, and in high school I was taking dual enrollment for my tribal college back home, and I don't know, the environment was really small, and I also kind of want to get away from the reservation. There was abuse, alcohol, all that was kind of putting a toll on me. And coming to Haskell, yeah, I really enjoyed my time there. Met a lot of people. It was very green, Kansas. Coming from the desert, everything's dry heat. In Kansas, it's a whole new environment, but
Okay.
Really enjoyed my time there.
How about you, Steve? What made you choose?
It's the only place I applied to. Only place I applied to, and shoot, my bro and I, we had this lady, she kind of met with us because I went to an inner city school. I didn't grow up on a reservation. I grew up in the inner city. And so we had this lady, she would come talk to some of us Indian students at high school. And yeah, which, she brought it up and would tell us about it. And yeah, it's the only place I applied to and got accepted. So my bro and I, we hopped in the ride and cruised down here. So it's a good one.
And you're a senior, right? You're a senior now.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm a senior. Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna just interject a reminder. I can't believe how time is flying. But I am going to have Adria, we have a question in the chat. I'm gonna have Adria read that for us. But before we do that, for you ESU students who are on this call, if you don't mind going into the chat, I put a link in there, and that's about 3 questions. It's a post survey. And when you complete that, we will put a little bit of chingle on your student, on your E number. That's what I like to call it. But yeah, we'll put $5 on there. You could use it at Starbucks, at Hornet's Nest, or Hornet Express. So just make sure that you fill out that post survey. So Adria, can you read for us that the question that we have?
Yeah, first, I just want to say it's just so wonderful to be with you all here tonight. So thank you again for taking your time. And it's just an honor and it's a treat to hear your stories and to get to know you. And it really is a blessing to be with you. So I hope you receive that. We have 3 questions actually, so I'm going to read them all off, and then you can answer the ones that resonate with you with our time left. You can probably see the one in the chat that there's an introduction, and the question is, how do you combat colorism in your community? And then I'll read the other 2 and you can kind of see where you want to go. Someone asked if you would recommend one book to learn about Native American culture or author. Do you have suggestions? And what are your dreams for an Indigenous-centered future for our descendants and for our land?
Those are
so there's a lot there, and I know we have like 10 minutes, which is impossible.
All right.
So whatever speaks to your heart, whatever you want to bring forward.
I can speak about the book or the author. The book I could recommend. So to be honest, I really don't read much books. I hated reading growing up. I still do. But the Common Core book for KU, that basically KU provides a book for all freshmen, incoming freshmen, and transfer students. They provide them with a book that they're supposed to read for that year. And this year we had the privilege of having Dr. Robin Kimmerer. I actually have a book right here. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's called Braiding Sweetgrass. And that's one book I would recommend. I started reading, I got about 4 chapters in, and I hate reading, but this book, it's on another level. She speaks from the Native American perspective, and I would recommend this one. She talks about her culture and her storytelling in there it's amazing. So I'd recommend that one. Again, it's Dr. Robin Kimmerer. And
Alexa put it in the chat
yeah,
for us. Yes.
Good. Yeah, I'd recommend that book. So
thank you. Anybody else, those questions? What about the colorism one? That's interesting to me.
What do they mean by colorism?
It says, how do you combat colorism in your communities? I would say, I mean, I know from various from African American culture and Hispanic culture. I can speak at least from those that, you know, there's definitely the light skin, dark skin issue. And so I'm thinking, Shanice said to be native or indigenous, but pale skinned or having light eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Is that a thing?
So when they say communities, is that like back home or here?
Maybe either way. Maybe just your experience, what you've seen. Or maybe not really.
Well, I don't know. I have other bloods in me, and I have relatives who are half black, half Indian. I have relatives who are full blood Indian. I have relatives who are half white, half Indian. We always lived among each other, loved each other, laughed with one another, cried with one another, you know. I think it was never really a thing for me. I've been around them all. I mean, I can't say the same for the other fellows, but for myself, we was always taught to see the beauty in all things, in all of life, right? You look at a tree, if you look at the trees now, they have many leaves, many colors. So you look at those things, and if we are people of a nature, of a universe that is dreamed into being of many colors, and that is the way it is, you know. But even back then, they always talked about, we still had those features. There was still, you know, real dark Indians with light eyes, even young Indians like our age who had white hair because the way they are. And then we had some they had the pigment. That was, you know, but we had a place for everyone and everything. There was really never no barrier. So, but I'll let the other gentleman speak.
Thank you for that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how to I mean, I'd like to speak on that. I don't really know how to shorten it up, but so I guess you could say I struggled with that early on. So I was born in Montana and raised there for the very first 3 years of my life, and then my mom met my stepdad, and my stepdad was Dene from Arizona. And so we moved down to Arizona when I was 4 years old. And I grew up in Arizona in the Navajo Nation. And completely different. I mean, I'm light skinned also, you know, I have, you know, I have white blood in me, I have Irish in me. And it was a very different environment and community when I went down to see my stepdad's side. And I remember always being bullied. You know, I mean, it's okay. You know, I'm okay with sharing all this stuff. But I remember always being bullied because I had a lighter skin, you know, and just because I looked different from everyone else, you know, and I got picked on. Nobody really wanted to be around me, and that was my stepdad or my stepfamily for a while. But you know, and they weren't all like that. You know, it was just my cousins. But one way that we overcame that was, you know, I always remember, yeah, even though I was getting bullied for who I was, and what I looked like, I always did, I always was me. I always did what I was, just be who I am. I never, wanted to like fit in. I always did whatever I wanted to do. I was kind of just like that. And, years and years of being bullied and stuff like that, and, having fights and stuff like that, and standing up for myself, it just somehow just automatically changed. My cousins started to hang out with me, started accepting me. And, there was like, it was all good after that, and I still have a really, really good relationships with my cousins. And, and it's to fight and to combat colorism, it takes time, and it's still here, you can, but to do that, it was, like, I was thinking right when I heard that question, and I was thinking back to the time when me and my brother Junior were talking. We're like, well, how do we do that? How do we initiate change? What's another way to initiate change? And what we came up with that in that conversation was to simply be the example. So be who you are, because we have we don't have that power to change someone, right? Tell them, hey, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. We don't have that, but we can show them ourselves. We can show them who we are, and it don't matter what color skin you are, or what kind of color your eyes. I mean, I have light eyes and I'm light skinned, and people give me, feedback or not, they always talk about, like, I have a beard and stuff like that. I have facial hair, and Indians are not supposed to have facial hair and stuff like that. Well, I have a facial hair and I'm Indian. So, I mean, that's who I am. That's who I am, and so when you can come to a understanding and, reassuring sense, of who you are, and you walk with that, it's it'll change. Things will change, so it's staying true and confident in who you are that'll help combat that colorism that you're talking about. Because once you really know who you are and you know where you come from, no one can take that away from you. No one can change that. No one ever could change that, so that's like my advice for that is, know who you are, where you come from, and be confident in yourself when you walk and when you go out every day, because that's you. So if you could do that, if we could all do that,
Yes.
there won't all be, that colorism that you're talking about. So
I probably can't entertain more questions, but I would like to get these last two comments in. Alexa said, I will share that I wish more people understood that our tribal identities are political more than racial. Our looks are different, our opinions are varied, but we are sovereign nations. And I believe Shanice said, thank you for sharing your experience with us, Michael. I am glad you made it through and that you were able to educate others and help them see that we are all human and connected, that Natives can be unified as a people and physically diverse as individuals. And I think that's a wonderful note to end this conversation, this chat about and on. And I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful. Please know that that you all took your time, took your time out to educate us and to help us get a peek into your perspectives and your backgrounds. And I just thank everyone who joined us on the Zoom And hopefully we can do this again next year, but in person. But you know what? I'm not mad at the virtual space because we can reach, our reach is so much further in the virtual space. So thank you all so much. And I hope you all have a great evening. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.